Welcome to From the Bleachers. I'm your host, as always, Shamus Clancy, coming to you from the wonderful BGN Radio Podcast Network. Now, I'm recording this late Tuesday afternoon, probably listening to this Wednesday morning, hopefully maybe before the Eagles preseason game on Thursday. Eagles have been kicking in the Patriots' tail the last 2 days during joint practices before their preseason game in Philadelphia at the Link on Thursday. Might be going to the game, might not be. Weather seems disgusting and terrible. I think we're having a consecutive thunder/rainstorm the next couple days in Philly. Also going to the Weezer Fall Out Boy Green Day concert at Citizens Bank Park on Friday. So hopefully can have some fun at the sports complex Thursday and Friday, and the weather isn't a complete disaster. But that's the luck you have when you're a Philadelphian sometimes. The Eagles are doing well in these practices. Jalen Hurts looks good. The offense is humming. The defense seems ferocious and did all summer really in the beginning of training camp going against this Eagles offense. And then everyone's wondering if the Eagles offense is just so inept. But we're seeing that maybe the defense is legitimately very, very good. And the Eagles have had some success in practice this week with New England. And the Eagles first team offense looked pretty decent against the Steelers last week in the Thursday preseason game. Also should mention that after the preseason game on Thursday, Jess Taylor and I did a instant reaction show for the preseason. We will be doing that this Thursday night as well. We will be streaming live on our YouTube page. So be sure to subscribe to the BGN YouTube channel. There'll be a link to it in this podcast description, wherever your podcast provider of choice is, and also be sure to follow BGN on there. Give us a nice review, 5 stars, the whole deal. You know what I'm talking about right there. So we'll have fun stuff with that with the instant reaction show of the season. But I'm getting hyped about the Eagles. It's that time of the year. And I've talked a lot this offseason about how, just for the fan base overall, the city, the mood hasn't really been there the way it usually is during a typical Eagles offseason where, just a couple of weeks into the offseason, we're thinking, oh, they're ready to go on a playoff run. They could win the division. They could go to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl because they're not. But I do think, and I've said this at the beginning of training camp, and there are a few factors in here, and we're going to get to it. The Eagles are going to win the division this year. And maybe that has more so to do with the 3 other teams in the division, and I'm going to talk about those teams in depth. But this team is skilled. This defense is something fierce. Flying all over the place. First-team defense looked fantastic against the Steelers. I know Ben Roethlisberger's not playing. So that affects things. They look at against Cam Newton and Mac Jones. They're saying, well, maybe Cam Newton's washed up. Mac Jones ain't it yet. That could be true. But they looked great against the Eagles offense throughout training camp, and it seems that maybe that offense is better than we originally thought. And you can only play who you're lining up against. And time again, this summer, we've seen the Eagles defense succeed. I think they could have maybe the best defensive line in the league along with Washington. We're going to talk about Washington a little bit too. But I'm getting amped up. Jalen Hurts' buzz is, he had inconsistency early in training camp. Looked pretty good in the first preseason game. Looked even better in these joint practices this week. Hopefully he'll be playing more than just 2 series this Thursday against the Patriots. It's kind of that, the preseason has changed so much where it used to be 4 games where, they maybe played a drive. The starters played a drive in the first game, and maybe they played a couple drives in the second game, and then maybe they played a quarter to a half for the full half in the third preseason game, and then basically sat out the 4th preseason game. But that's all in flux right now, so we might see this kind of be the dress rehearsal game, and that 3rd preseason game be that 4th preseason game where the starters really don't do much of anything. So I'm excited to see a big dose of Jalen Hurts, Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor. Quez Watkins, the burner in training camp, looked unbelievable in that little catch and go he did with Joe Flacco against the Steelers, 79-yard touchdown. Should have also had a 98-yard touchdown, courtesy of Jalen Hurts, who slightly overthrew him. We talked about this on the podcast last week. So if before the game kicks off Thursday, if you want to do a little go back and listen to Thursday night's podcast I did with Jess, I think you should definitely do so. Get your game ready for the game against the Patriots. People forget a couple years in Super Bowl, Eagles beat the Patriots 41-33. People forget that. Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, having these Odell Beckham Jr. type catches in camp. And then you have Devontae Smith returning to practice today, actually practicing in team drills against the Patriots, 11 on 11. I'm amped. Maybe he'll play in the preseason game this week. Maybe he'll play next week. I don't know, but I'm banking right now that I'm assuming he will be ready for week 1 down in Atlanta. He didn't miss too much time. He's a smart, experienced, intelligent wide receiver. So I don't think the learning curve in the NFL is going to be as steep as it was for maybe Jalen Reagor last year or some receivers we've seen in the past. So I'm thinking, he missed a couple weeks of camp. I'm not so worried. He's already getting back out there. He's probably going to get some preseason reps, get himself NFL adjusted, and then be ready to ball out this season as he wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's going to win that. Jalen Hurts is going to look good. This defense is going to be a top 10 unit, and they're going to run away with the craptastic NFC East. Let's go around the NFC East, because I'm previewing the NFC East race, and part of that is looking at the Eagles, and I've done that a little bit, going to keep doing it, and part of that is looking at the other 3 teams. And on a macro level, these teams are filled with dysfunction. Washington, the ownership, the management, it's been like this for 2 decades. Ron Rivera, good coach, brought some stability to the organization. Seems like that great leader of men, great defensive mind. Coached with the Eagles for a while under Andy Reid. And then you have that defensive front. Chase Young, Jonathan Allen. Those guys are scared. And that's why I think Washington is the team the Eagles should be most concerned with this season in their pursuit of the NFC East Championship. It will be hard to repeat. It's said ad nauseum, and it's not necessarily a predictive figure or note or statistic, but it's worth considering that there hasn't been a repeat NFC East champion since the 2003 and 2004 Eagles. 2003 Eagles lose an NFC Championship game at home to the Panthers. Then 2014 goes on, loses the Super Bowl to the Patriots. But we got our revenge a couple of years back, and we're getting our revenge in these joint practices this week and hopefully get some more revenge on Thursday. Well, that defense is pretty great down there in Washington. And I think the way I think the Eagles could be a top 10 unit, that might be a top 5 unit. At the same time, don't really see it with the offense. They signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick has killed the Eagles in his career. So they're going to play twice this year, right? We play every team in the division twice. I imagine that in one of those games, Ryan Fitzpatrick throws for 438 yards and 4 touchdowns and runs for 1, and the Eagles lose. And in the second one, he throws 4 interceptions and fumbles twice, and the Eagles win. So really, if they split with Washington, I think they got it in the bag. Beat up on the Cowboys, beat up on the Giants. The Giants. Joe Judge, you're a fraud. You think you're Bill Belichick out there trying to be this tough guy leader, bringing that New England fervor with you when you don't have anything to back it up with. You have guys retiring in the middle of training camp because they hate playing for you so much. And it's only training camp. We haven't even gotten to the season. Remember Chip Kelly and the 2015 Eagles? They all hated him by the end of the season, but training camp things seemed fine. What's Daniel Jones going to retire at halftime of week 4? Saquon Barkley said, I just came back from that injury. Yeah, I'm not doing this. Peace out. See you later. We're not doing this. Joe Judge, he could be the first coach to get fired this year. The odds are like that's on – you can get those on sports books. Throw some cash down on Joe Judge. First coach to get fired. Oh, man. He is a loser, and he's such a crybaby. That whole organization is still after the Eagles tanked in that game against Washington last year so that we get a better draft pick, and then Washington ends up winning the division instead of the Giants. And, the Giants are crying. Well, maybe you should have won more than 5 or 6 games if you really wanted the division and not be a bunch of gigantic crybabies with your diapers filled. Daniel Jones stinks. Stinks. Not an NFL quarterback. Saquon Barkley, super talented. I remember this. It's the 2018 season, Saquon's rookie year. Eagles coming off that Super Bowl win last year. We all have Super Bowl fever still. And maybe they almost got there too when they lost to the Saints in the divisional round down in New Orleans. Different story. So they're playing the Giants in the Meadowlands on Thursday Night Football. And Saquon Barkley has one of the most remarkable games I've ever seen from a running back. And the Eagles still smacked him by double-digit points. And it wasn't even a real game at any point in the contest. That displays how poor it was, poor judgment to take him with the 2nd overall pick in that draft in 2018. The Giants had Josh Allen. I'd be a little scared right now. The Giants, somehow they ended up with Lamar Jackson in that draft. I'd be pretty scared right now. They ended up with Daniel Jones. and the following year's draft in 2019. So 2018, they should have taken the quarterback, took Saquon instead. Saquon, uber talented, got hurt last year. Who knows how he's going to be coming back from that injury? Still great, but running back ain't making the difference for them, even in this poor division. Then you look down to Dallas, and we're seeing a lot of Dallas right now because they're on Hard Knocks. And now the second episode comes out tonight. I'll watch it tomorrow morning. So you've already seen the second episode by this airs, but the first episode aired last week. It's entertaining. It's different than a normal season of Hard Knocks. I should say a non-Dallas season, because the Cowboys have been on there a few times, where sometimes you get invested into these end-of-the-roster guys trying to make a living in NFL, establish their career, and you're rooting for these underdog factors. I'm watching this thing. I'm not rooting for any of these people. I'm not rooting for anyone to succeed. I want all these people to fail. And I look out there, and I see Mike McCarthy, complete bum. I loved when the Cowboys hired him. I was so happy they hired him. I hope they give him a 10-year contract extension after the season of Hard Knocks airs. Do you see what do they call it? The mojo moment showcased in Austin Powers. Shag me, baby. Are you kidding me? Micah Parsons, your first-round pick, wasn't even born yet when the first Austin Powers movie came out. Do you think any of these guys have any clue what Austin Powers is about or have even seen any of these movies? They probably think you're a gigantic freak weirdo because you are. Dak Prescott, we've seen in Philadelphia our share of quarterbacks get injuries and never recover and be the same. Felt like the first half hour of Hard Knocks was just watching Dak Prescott's injury from last year from 55 different angles. And now he's having an MRI again. And the Cowboys Twitter account saying, don't worry, don't freak out. But he's getting an MRI. If your team has to say that and preface it, my don't worry about this MRI shirt is raising a lot of questions already answered by my shirt. And if Dak can't go, and Dak's a very good quarterback. Ali Crow, I thought Wentz was better than him. I thought that for a long time. Sometimes you're wrong. Obviously much better than Carson Wentz as a quarterback. Very good quarterback. If he's healthy, if he can be his best self, the best quarterback in the division. But we don't know if that's the case. We don't know if that's that case for this specific season. And for all we know, with these injuries mounting up, it could be the case for the foreseeable future, that he's not the same Dak Prescott anymore. We saw with Carson Wentz the way injuries can derail a promising, talented quarterback's career. And that defense stinks. Receivers are good. Amari Cooper, maybe on the downturn, I think. Not the guy we thought he was going to be. I mean, he was in 2018. Everyone in Philadelphia, the Eagles are kind of going to the Super Bowl running in. They want them to trade for him. And he ends up being really, really good the year they trade for him. And hats off to that. And then they go and draft CeeDee Lamb, and we're like, oh my God, of course they get CeeDee Lamb. And I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be awesome. Still mad the Eagles didn't try to trade up for him last year, maneuver up and get him. He's an uber talented guy. Like Devontae Smith more. Different discussion. The CeeDee Lamb, awesome receiver. But if Dak's out, if Dak's missing time, and it's pretty pertinent to Eagles fans to see how this injury process plays out for Dak and his recovery, and whether if he even comes back, it flares up again and he has another issue immediately, because the Eagles play the Cowboys in week 3 on Monday Night Football. They're not playing. The first time they play the Cowboys isn't week 7, week 8. We're getting them pretty early out the gate. And if Dak is either out completely or banged up and not his true self, that's going to make it an even more winnable game for the Eagles, especially when you're going on the road. You're playing on Monday Night Football. It's prime time. Everyone in the country is watching these two games. There's an Eagles-Cowboys national television game every year. That's a huge moneymaker for the NFL. If the Eagles can go down there, maybe they split their first 2 games. Maybe they win them both. Who knows? And they can go down there, play kind of a banged-up Dak Prescott, or maybe Ben DiNucci's out there. The Nooch man is out there playing quarterback for the Cowboys, and the Eagles can get that win, go 2-1, get the national attention on the Birds. They're great defense. Javon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Milton Williams, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat. If there was an NBA version of the Most Improved Player award, like there would be in the NFL, like the NBA has that, if there was one in the NFL, I'd bet all the money on Josh Sweat winning this year. Double-digit sacks incoming. They could feast on Dak Prescott, especially if he's hampered with his mobility coming off of that catastrophic injury last year. We're going to see, aren't we? And if they can go down there, they can play on Monday Night Football. You have a guy like Jalen Hurts, loves the limelight, likes the attention. And I mean that in a good way. He wants all the eyeballs on him. He's a born leader. He's going to succeed in that situation. Going back home to Texas. He's from Texas. He's Friday Night Lights born and bred. Go down there on the national stage, Monday Night Lights, I guess you could call it, and ball out and really establish himself. Having that coming out party, the way it kind of felt like Carson Wentz did in 2017 on that Panthers Thursday Night Football game. Maybe if we're getting a less than stellar, less than as good as they could beat Dallas squad in week 3, maybe there's some noise nationally brewing about our Philadelphia Eagles, our beloved Eagles. So Dallas, not super scared of. Dak, when he's healthy, when he's on the field, very good quarterback. We don't know if he's going to be that same type of guy now. And we don't even know if he's going to be on the field the entire season. And then we're getting the Nooch man, all bets are off. Washington, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a worse Nick Foles. Like, I'd rather roll with Nick Foles to win a big game because he's actually won big games before, where Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't done jack crap in the playoffs or anything in these huge moments. And he's this guy who's toiled in poor situations in terrible franchises. And then he puts up these gaudy numbers. It's like, oh, Fitzmagic, oh, he has a gigantic beard. I used to have a gigantic beard too. It doesn't matter. These gold chains acting like he's, what's that guy? Conor McGregor. Thinks he looks like Conor McGregor with the, has the big suit on, has the, sweater all rolled up. All bark, no bite, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tell me when you have a legitimate NFL moment, when you contribute to a winning team, a winning organization, make winning plays. Because I don't really see that from Ryan Fitzpatrick, and now he's in his late 30s. He's been on 37 NFL teams. There's only 32 teams. That's how much he's bounced around the league. It's telling. Defense in Washington is going to be good. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, you set a ceiling on the team. And again, it's not going to take a million wins to win this division. You might win it. If you go 9-8, you have to kind of factor in the schedule with a 17-game schedule now. It's a 17-game season. Maybe 9-8 wins this division. But I don't even know if Ryan Fitzpatrick can get you 9 wins. Maybe get you 7. And they go 7-10, and maybe they do win the division with that. But I think the Eagles, 9-8, 10-6, 9-8, 10-7, and then what would it be? 11-6, maybe 11-6. Playing some good teams. Tampa Bay, Kansas City. They lose both of those, I think they're still going to be in good shape. Got Broncos. Got some bad teams on there too. And again, they are in the worst division in football. 5-1. You go 5-1 in this division, maybe even 4-2, but 5-1, you're winning the whole thing. And I think the Eagles are going to do that. I say they're sweeping Dallas because they're getting a poor Dallas team to start the year. Maybe Mike McCarthy is even canned because they're a disaster by the next time they play. Maybe they split against Washington, and then they're sweeping the Giants. Giants stink. Joe Judge, again, the two coaches who might get fired first this season, both reside in the NFC East. And I ain't talking about Nick Sirianni. I'm excited. I'm getting myself amped. I'm in this stage now where I work some nights a lot for, NBC Sports Philadelphia. But during the day, I'm in TweetDeck. I have my Eagles column up, and I'm just refreshing and looking all day about all these beat writers live tweeting the practices. BLG and Jimmy Kemsky, our BGN Radio brethren, are out there doing fantastic jobs. Be sure to read that on bleedinggreennation.com and for Jimmy on the Philly Voice. And I'm amped. I got my Phillies jersey on. I'm enjoying Phillies season. Went to a couple Phillies games this week. Went to 3 Phillies games in 4 days. Went 2-1. Take it. My record on the year, 3-1 in Phillies games. Hopefully, still staying in that division race. Maybe I'll hit a couple more by the end of the year. But I'm rocking my Scott Rowland jersey I had since I was a kid. I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling the Phillies, and I'm feeling the Eagles. And that's the most important thing right now. I like the Phillies. Love the Sixers. Eagles number 1 forever. One more thing I want to talk about. Taunting. NFL is coming down on these taunting rules. If you don't want to get taunted Make a better play. Let's have some fun out there. Remember when I was a kid, you'd have Chad Johnson and T.O. and Randy Moss getting people on hysteria, causing hysterics because of their touchdown dances. Joe Horn flipping out the cell phone, calling his kid. That's what happened. Yeah, he called us. Wait, he said I'm going a little off course here. When he did that cell phone celebration, he said he was calling his kid. His son, J.C. Horn, is now in the NFL. Well, what if it's the same kid? What if it's the same son? Something to figure out there if you're an NFL national writer out there. But we went through that. And then the NFL seemed to actually get lax about those rules. And they even allowed those group celebrations. And we saw the Eagles do 1 million of those during the 2017 season, their Super Bowl run. You had like playing wiffle ball, throwing the ball, hitting the home run, all the players behind him like that. You had the Eagles defensive backs doing the electric slide out in the field. That was fun. Football should be fun. It used to be called the No Fun League. Again, when we were talking about when I was a kid, you had Chad Johnson, T.O., all these people. People would just freak out about it. And I was like, well, they just scored a touchdown in the NFL. I would be doing laps around the stadium naked if that was me. And I'm surprised they don't celebrate even more than they already do. Taunting. I want Josh Sweat to just impound Dak Prescott into the ground. And I want him to stand over him and flex. If that's a penalty, that's BS. It's BS to me. Wrap it up on that note. Again, Eagles are winning their division this year. The rest of the NFC East stinks. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Bleeding Green Insta. Obviously, read all the great content on bleedinggreennation.com. Just dropped a mailbag, my weekly mailbag article today. So check that out. We'll bring tons of great content Thursday night. Be sure, again, to subscribe to our YouTube feed. We'll have that link to our channel in the description for this podcast. Jess and I will do our instant reaction show yet again for the preseason. And again, follow me. If you like the podcast, if you like my writing, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Shamus_Clancy. We'll be bringing you heat all Eagles season long, a season that's going to end with the Eagles in the postseason. That's it from me, Shamus Clancy. Keep bleeding green.